Have you ever been judged unfairly, just by the way you look? Our story today is about a woman named Imani, who faced exactly that on a day that was supposed to be a secret victory for her. She was about to be dismissed and humiliated in front of everyone, but the person who judged her had no idea who she was truly dealing with. Before we continue the story, we would love to know where you are watching from. Please, let us know in the comments so we can bring more stories that you will enjoy. Also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss our upcoming stories. Now, let's dive into the story. It was a bright, sunny afternoon at the Courtyard at Silverwood, one of the most luxurious outdoor shopping malls in the city. People with expensive shopping bags walked along the clean pathways, and the sound of a gentle fountain filled the air. In the middle of all this luxury was Imani. She was dressed in a simple gray hoodie, comfortable jeans, and a pair of worn-out sneakers. Her hair was pulled back into a simple ponytail. She looked tired, but there was a deep, quiet satisfaction in her eyes. For weeks, she had been working behind the scenes, dealing with architects, lawyers, and investment bankers. Today, all that hard work had finally paid off. This mall, this entire beautiful place, was now hers. She walked towards her car, a sleek, dark blue SUV. It was a recent gift to herself, and she was still getting used to it. She pressed the button on her key fob to unlock the doors, but nothing happened. She pressed it again. Still nothing. With a small sigh, she took out the manual key to open the door. At that exact moment, another woman named Carol was walking to her own car, a shiny red sports car parked just a few spaces away. Carol was dressed in a designer pantsuit, with perfect hair and expensive jewelry. She was stressed because she was running late for a very important lunch meeting. When she saw Imani, she stopped. Carol's eyes scanned Imani from head to toe. The old hoodie, the simple jeans, the way she was struggling with the key on that expensive SUV. In Carol's mind, the picture did not make sense. An alarm bell of prejudice and suspicion started ringing in her head. She watched for another second as Imani finally managed to get the key into the lock. That's when Carol decided to act. She walked over, her heels clicking loudly on the pavement. She stood a few feet away from Imani, her arms crossed. "Excuses me," Carol said, her voice sharp and cold. "Is that your car?" Imani looked up, surprised. She saw a well-dressed woman looking at her as if she were a piece of dirt. "Yes, it is," Imani replied calmly, though she was tired and not in the mood for a confrontation. "The key fob battery must be dead." Carol let out a short, disbelieving laugh. "Right, the battery. You know, we've had a lot of car thefts in this area recently. It's a shame what kind of people think they can just come here." Imani's calm expression started to fade. She understood immediately what this was about. It wasn't about a key. It was about her clothes, her skin color, and the fact that she was standing next to a $60,000 car. "I can assure you, this is my car," Imani said, her voice a little firmer now. "I'm just trying to get home." "I don't think so," Carol said, pulling out her phone. "I'm calling the police. We'll let them figure out whose car this is." Before Imani could even protest, Carol was on the phone with 911, speaking, in a loud, dramatic voice. "Yes, hello? I'm at the Courtyard at Silverwood Mall. There is a woman. She looks very suspicious, and she is actively trying to break into a luxury SUV. You need to send someone right away." Imani just stood there, a feeling of deep exhaustion washing over her. She knew that in a situation like this, she was already seen as guilty. All she could do was wait. Within minutes, a police car pulled into the parking lot, its lights flashing. A tall, serious-looking officer named Miller got out of the car and walked towards them. He looked at Carol, the well-dressed, frantic-looking woman, and then at Imani, the woman in the simple hoodie. He immediately walked past Imani and went straight to Carol. "Ma'am, what seems to be the problem here?" Officer Miller asked. "Thank goodness you're here, officer," Carol said, pointing a dramatic finger at Imani. "This woman is trying to steal that car. I saw her trying to force the lock open. She clearly doesn't belong here." "Officer," Miller turned to Imani, his expression now hard and accusatory. "Ma'am," he said, his voice firm, "I need you to step away from the vehicle. Put your hands where I can see them." Imani took a slow, deep breath to control her anger. "Officer, this is a misunderstanding. This is my car. My name is Imani Rosewood. The key fob isn't working." "I've heard that story before," the officer said, not believing her. "Let me see your driver's license and the vehicle's registration." Imani slowly reached into her pocket, pulled out her wallet, and handed him her license. She then opened the glove box to find the registration, her hands trembling slightly with frustration. All around them, shoppers had started to stop and stare. They whispered to each other, looking at Imani with suspicion. She felt humiliated, standing there being treated like a common criminal. As Officer Miller took her documents back to his car to check them, Carol stood there with a smug, satisfied smile on her face. She felt like a hero who had just stopped a crime. But then, something happened that no one expected. A man in a perfectly tailored suit came running out of the main mall entrance. He looked panicked. This was David Chen, the general manager of the entire shopping mall. He ran past the shoppers, past Carol, and straight towards the scene. But he didn't stop at the police officer. He ran right up to Imani. "Ms. Rosewood," David Chen said, breathing heavily. "I am so sorry. I got a security alert on my tablet and saw what was happening. Is everything all right? Did they bother you?" Carol's smug smile vanished. Her jaw dropped open. She looked from the frantic manager to Imani, completely confused. Officer Miller, who was walking back from his car, also froze in his tracks. "I'm fine, David," Imani said, her voice steady but full of ice. "Just dealing with a situation, David." Chen turned to Officer Miller, his face red with anger and embarrassment. "Officer, do you have any idea who this is?" Before the officer could answer, David looked at him, then at Carol, and then made a sweeping gesture at the entire mall. "Around them. Everyone," he announced, his voice loud enough for all the staring shoppers to hear. "This is Ms. Imani Rosewood. As of yesterday morning, she is the new owner of the courtyard at Silverwood." A wave of complete silence fell over the parking lot. You could hear a pin drop. Carol's face turned from pink to white. She looked like she had seen a ghost. She stared at Imani's simple hoodie and worn sneakers, and then at her own designer clothes, and suddenly felt very, very small. Officer Miller looked down at the registration in his hand. It said, Imani Rosewood. He looked up at Imani, his professional authority completely gone, replaced by a look of deep shock and regret. Imani finally turned her gaze to Carol. She didn't shout. She didn't scream. She spoke in a calm, powerful voice that cut through the silence. "You looked at me," Imani said, "and you decided who I was in an instant. You saw a woman dressed for comfort, and your mind told you she was a criminal. Your prejudice could have put me in a very dangerous situation." Then she turned to the police officer. "And you, officer," she continued, "you arrived on the scene and made the exact same assumption. You treated me like a suspect from the very first second without even listening," Carol stammered, trying to find words. I, I'm so sorry. I didn't know." "That's the point," Imani said, cutting her off. "You shouldn't need to know who I am to treat me with basic human respect. My position shouldn't matter. My humanity should." With that, Imani took her license and registration from the stunned officer's hand. She turned back to her car, put the key in the ignition, and the engine started with a smooth, quiet roar. She put the car in reverse, backed out of the parking space, and drove away, leaving a deeply ashamed woman, a regretful police officer, and a crowd of silent shoppers behind her. Imani had bigger things to do. She had a mall to run, so that was the story of Imani Rosewood. She showed everyone that day that a person's worth is not defined by their clothes or the car they drive. We have a question for you. What would you have done if you were in Imani's situation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and if this story resonates with you, please hit the subscribe button. It's completely free for you, but it helps our channel a lot so we can continue bringing you more stories like this one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a beautiful day.